games left in the regular season of Big Ten men's lacrosse. Johns Hopkins sitting pretty 4-0 in advance of the rivalry game with Maryland tomorrow.
First chance for Hopkins to win the Big Ten regular season title outright.
Colby Baldwin gets the first face-off assignment for Penn State in the traveling blue. Rutgers on senior day, dressed in the whites. They scramble for the loose ball, and it comes up for the Scarlet Knights there. A chance for McKelvey to advance, but he lost it out of his cross. Stoller, the impressive freshman, gets away from the ride of TJ Malone. He got trail checked into a turnover. Lehman closing in, feeds, Malone fires, he scores! The hard work on the ride.
Off what he started.
He's not going to miss that one. Goals in 45 straight games for TJ Malone. A season ago, the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year. He's the reigning Offensive Player of the Week as Cole Brams gets the draw for Rutgers and the first 6-on-6 at the offensive end.
Brams did a nice job last week.
Junior from north of the border in Ontario, Canada. Fifth leading scorer for Rutgers this season. You can tell at the top of the screen he has a dozen now. Brams right off the draw going to goal. No advantage there for Koulis. He'll settle down and play catch with Brandon Hunn, the short stick defensive midfielder. Scott's off and running, turns a corner.
Up. But Waldstrom, credit him, gets topside, gets leverage, and slams it home.
Waldstrom, who had been blanked, no goals the last couple of weeks of play, gets himself on the board. Just enough of a step there on Mason Edwards, the transfer.
The white Shane Knobloch.
All the skills of an All-American midfielder for Brian Breck. Knobloch ties it up at 2, right at the 5-minute mark of the opening quarter. Lacrosse on Big Ten Network. Joe Beninati, Mark Dixon with you from SHI Stadium in Piscataway. We've been celebrating 10 seasons of lacrosse all throughout this early spring on Big Ten Network. These are
shoulders. It is something that he just kind of moves side to side versus
a little bit of a shrug.
Moving the vertical, the vertical action. Rutgers recognizes it, and they stick it.
Chase Mullins gets the draw for Penn State. Trailing in this one with 6 minutes and change to go in the opening quarter. Here in a place where they've had issues winning recently is...
He's done a nice job playing attack tonight. His natural position, he had been running out of the box. And then, of course, Carden Stoller, a brick wall in his first year, manning the pipes here in New Brunswick.
Face-off possession for Cole Brams, who wins about 54% of those this season. Rutgers in 9 of his last 10 outings. This is a Rutgers team that's 4-0 in regular season Big Ten games played against Penn State here in Piscataway. Giving them a hard time so far in the opening quarter with a 4-3 advantage. Nittany Lions in blue with possession.
Incredible ground ball by Will Costin. It's exactly what took place.
22 in blue is automatic. He's got goals in all 12 and goals in 28 of his last 30. Movement on the draw against Penn State, going to give Rutgers possession.
Gets pushed. Defender, ball watching. Malone front swings, takes the feed, and sticks it.
7 hat tricks this season for number 7. Recently named as a top 25 Tewaaraton Award candidate. Both he and Shane Knobloch sharing that honor. Off and running from down under, a sizzler. Aldridge, top shelf. Penn State's got 3 in a row.
We talked about the microwave, and they can heat up very, very fast. Brams has been dominating at the face-off, and a reason that he has been the aggressiveness of Rutgers. All 3 white jerseys crash. And watch Aldridge sneak out the back door. Nifty little flip from Chase Mullins. And Aldridge is off to the races. On the run, a dart past Carden Stoller. And if I'm Brian Brecht, I'm a little concerned with Carden Stoller. He hasn't looked as sharp as he has in previous weeks for the Scarlet Knights.
Temperatures in the mid-50s. Lights are starting to take effect here at SHI Stadium. This was a 6 p.m. Eastern time start as we get to the end of the opening quarter.
Ohio State, that's where the Wolverines started their run last year, knocking off the Buckeyes the last weekend of the regular season. Then they beat them in the quarterfinals, won the Big Ten tournament, and then won an NCAA tournament game, also beating the Cornell Big Red. So anything can happen. And don't think that for 1 second Nick Myers and his Ohio State Buckeyes have forgotten about last season.
Just showed you a graphic about how efficiently Penn State finished up that a lot of things. This is a guy who has always had a lot on his plate, regardless of what class he's been in all the time. And now he's the #1 option.
And he's playing like it. And that's, to me, what makes it so impressive. He never leaves the Rutgers netminder. Beautiful placement by Costin.
Mac Costin, transfer from the University of Utah. As we get back to the face-off dot, possession here for Penn State's Chase Mullins. Costin, another guy who's ultra dependable. Goals
into a rivalry because of the competitiveness of it. Look, in lacrosse, Maryland Hopkins, those natural rivals, Michigan, Ohio State as well. Penn State and Rutgers have had to kind of build up the rivalry, and it certainly has. And if Rutgers can win and then you get some outside help, and particularly in that Michigan-Ohio State game, you could end up as a 3 seed and having a home game next week here at SHI Stadium.
A Penn State win assures them of the #3 seed in the upcoming tournament.
Panzermonium is waiting back in State College.
Unsettled here right off the draw. Lehman fires and scores.
From our mouth to we are's ears back at Panzer. Not the start you want if you are the Penn State, if you are the Scarlet Knights. Let's take a look from the face-off. I mean, we saw this early on with TJ Malone checking Carden Stoller. Different draw taker in Matt Soutar for the Scarlet Knights. And I thought Stoller made the save. I thought he got enough of that, but it just has enough English to trickle and solve the Rutgers netminder.
Lehman gets his 11th. Soutar stays in there to take this draw. Penn State rolling with 6 of the last 7 strikes on the board. Soutar digging deep now against Mullins.
So we're seeing the chess match at the face-off dot. Multiple draw takers for Penn State. Now Soutar getting in there and mucking things up, and it might be a violation, but it's possession Rutgers.
A chilly Friday.
Far the net to find #7, his teammate.
Classic release there from the captain. TJ Malone gets his 4th goal of the game, 32nd of the year. He's had 5 goal games against Michigan and Yale in this campaign. Rutgers needs possessions, and they need to turn the light on quickly here. This one getting away. That has to taste very good for Sidorsky, who had been blanked over his last 6 games. Rosati, 2 times the Dartmouth captain. Coach Breck was saying how highly thought of Rosati had been. They expected him to be an impact starting defender. Mullins comes away with a draw for Penn State. Their deficit, the Rutgers deficit, now at 4.
Injuries have really derailed.
What are you supposed to do with that if you're the keeper, Stoller? There's no release to read. It's just on you out of nowhere.
You're looking low, and then all of a sudden it's over your shoulder and in the cage.
9 multi-goal games for Costin. You can see why with a shot like that. Penn State.
Hopkins and Maryland, but then Penn State, 2019 claiming the title. Last year, Michigan, the youngest program in the conference, claiming their first Big Ten championship. Can't wait for this year's edition.
Games to be played in Columbus, Ohio in the first week of May. You saw the score divvied up into thirds there. In control, it is 10th-ranked Penn State on the lead against Rutgers. A win for Penn State tonight secures the 3rd seed in the upcoming Big Ten tournament.
Hopkins and Maryland tomorrow put the Nittany Lions up by 6 on Rutgers.
Largest lead on the night, 12-6. Possession for Penn State. Colby Baldwin, who's been spelling Chase Mullins from time to time at the face-off dot. Brian Breck, the head coach for Rutgers, said of Penn State, rather 8 of 12 this season, but he had been held without a goal in 3 of his last 5. Brams gets this draw for Rutgers, but then lost it as he was making the pass out of the top of his cross.
Things that just have not gone Rutgers' way since the about 5 minutes left in that first quarter. I thought they...
Koulis, who had a hat trick earlier in the season against Loyola, has his third tally on the night. Face-off possession critical here for Rutgers, and they come up with it with a wing play of Mason Edwards. Final 10 minutes of regulation.
Really far back, finds the 5-hole, and cuts the deficit to 5.
Ringer's only 2 other points all season were goals against Detroit Mercy. He bags one there, and then this time it's Colby Baldwin winning the draw for Penn State as Rutgers narrows the deficit to 5.
And that was unfortunate that they couldn't win another face-off because they're feeling it. They're getting into a rhythm.
Brony said of T.J. Malone, it's great as a coach to see the guys who work the hardest be rewarded.
There was first ever Big Ten tournament championship and the automatic qualifier that comes with it to the NCAA tournament.
Koulis, a season ago, had 4-goal games against Utah and Princeton. He has the 4 goals tonight. Rutgers is trailing by 6 with less than 3 minutes to go in quarter number 4. Should Penn State hold,